from A Course in Miracles this morning, look at the picture, do not let the frame distract you. This automatically reminds me of looking into the mirror and not seeing ourselves accurately for all the trillions of cells and the deep beauty and intelligence that goes beyond what we just see in the mirror, which is the body. I like A Course in Miracles because it tries to go beyond seeing ourselves and over-identifying with the physical body, because we're spiritual creatures. And, the easiest thing to think of is the laws of physics. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction, and energy is neither created nor destroyed. So, when we have dementia or we die and leave the earth, like, our spirit goes elsewhere, the energy of who we are goes elsewhere. And I think dementia is the most fascinating thing to think about, because we truly do forget who we are. And that's what A Course in Miracles aims to teach, is this remembering of this inner stillness and this peace. I'm going to skip around a little bit to share a few more other passages. The ego is alert to threat, and the part of your mind into which the ego was accepted is very anxious to preserve its reason as it sees it. It does not realize that it is totally insane. And it talks about how when we are over-identifying with the body and material things in the world, that we end up choosing to relate to things in a distorted way. This is like relationships, jobs, friendships, addictions, habits, and like we all struggle with this obviously, but it says how we over-identify with these certain patterns and habits, and it truly makes us forget who we are, which is like peaceful creatures underneath. Spiritual, just of the light, just shining so bright. So that passage was from the two pictures, and I just wanted to skip around, and I'm going to kind of go back to the previous passage, which is called Shadows of the Past. To forgive is merely to remember only the loving thoughts you gave in the past and those that were given you. All the rest must be forgotten. Forgiveness is a selective remembering based not on your selection, for the shadow figures you would make immortal are enemies of reality. The ego seeks to resolve its problems not at their source, but where they were not made, and thus it seeks to guarantee there will be no solution. The light wants only to make his resolutions complete and perfect, and so he seeks and finds the source of problems where it is, and there undoes it. It is still up to you to choose to join with truth or with illusion, but remember that to choose one is to let the other go. Which one you choose you will endow with beauty and reality. I love that line. Again, I'm always thinking about the nervous system and how that is in this reading. But remember that to choose one is to let the other go. And it reminds me of the autonomic nervous system, that rest and digest, or that fight or flight. And we cannot simultaneously be in both states at the same time. Like, even like during our states of sleep at night, we go through those 5 restorative stages of sleep. That's why it's extremely important to go to bed earlier, like around 10 p.m., where we're secreting a lot of the melatonin, because in each sleep wave we go through parasympathetic, and then we go through sympathetic, that REM state, parasympathetic, sympathetic. And the same thing happens like with essentially like when we're aroused and when we're intimate with people, we have to be, in order to be aroused, we have to be in the parasympathetic state. And then we know, like, when you reach that point of climax, that's that sympathetic letting go. So it's beautiful how the autonomic nervous system is constantly working, but it doesn't work simultaneously at the exact same time. Like, to be, you'd be in complete conflict if, you were doing both at the same time. Like, it's always this rest and digest and then switching off. And I think that's beautiful. So gorgeous. So which one you choose will endow with beauty and reality, because the choice depends on which you value more, the spark of beauty or the veil of ugliness, the real world or the world of guilt and fear, truth or illusion, freedom or slavery. It is all the same, for you can never choose except between light and the ego. Thought systems are but true or false, and all their attributes come simply from what they are. Only the thoughts of light are true, and all that follows from them comes what they are, and it is true as is the holy source from which they came. And it's just so beautiful. That's why I love this book, is because I just constantly see and hear the biology and the nervous system, like what's going on. Time is indeed unkind to the unholy relationship. So when we enter relationships, it could be with anything. When people think about relationships, I could be talking about the relationship between you and your coffee, right? Like I have a relationship with coffee that is like not fully the healthiest at this time. So I'm trying to back up and kind of think about like, what do I feel like when I'm not engaged with it, right? Even with it could be anything, but how do I feel like, or like at what point in the day do I crave it and go for it? Where are these thoughts coming from? Like what is this uncomfortable emotion that's trying to come up that I go reach for the coffee, and it kind of like changes my biochemistry. It gets me out of whatever I'm trying to experience in that exact moment. There's something that I'm reaching for coffee to shift the way that I want to feel. And it's not always bad, right? Like we have good addictions, we can go for exercise, but even over exercising, anything done in excess or out of right relationship can be harmful to us. So that's what it's talking about. So time is indeed unkind to the holy relationship, for time is cruel in the hands of the ego, and as it is kind when used for gentleness. The attraction of the unholy relationship begins to fade and to be questioned almost at once. Once it is formed, doubt must enter in, because its purpose is impossible. The ideal of the unholy relationship thus becomes one in which the reality of the other does not enter to it at all to spoil the dream. And the less the other really brings to the relationship, the better it becomes. Thus, the attempt at union becomes a way of excluding even the one with whom the union was sought, for it is formed to get him out of it and join with fantasies in uninterrupted bliss. And that, of course, like I always am talking about, I think this book is written based on like dementia and the nervous system, and forgetting who we are and divorce from the self. But it says time is unkind to the ego, and it just often makes me think of like, why go left when we could have gone right? And I made a video yesterday about DMT and dementia, and also like what makes tryptophan go down an alternate pathway, right? Because tryptophan is an essential amino acid. It's required for us. We need it to function. It is one of our biggest circadian rhythm drivers. Circadian rhythm is the balance of the nervous system, the balance of the health. So tryptophan will break down into serotonin and melatonin, but it can break down into another pathway called the kynurenine pathway, which is involved with disease states and higher levels of inflammation, or it can go serotonin and melatonin. So what is the sentence that comes to my mind right now? What is the root cause of your poor decisions? But that sounds kind of harsh. So, and I typically can be a little bit harsh with myself, so I want to approach this with gentleness, as it talks about gentleness. How do you know that you're in right relationship? It is you're approaching it with gentleness and calmness and peace. And then that would be like the parasympathetic side, a state of groundedness. And then when we enter into relationships through chaos, that is usually involvement of the ego, being more in that sympathetic fight or flight. So when I'm in that sympathetic fight or flight, I don't feel safe, and I'm reaching for something outside of myself to make myself feel safe. But the book talks about there's nothing to reach for outside of ourselves. Everything that we would need is inside of us. And a lot of times, like, we have those dopamine diseases right now that are really thriving, where everything on the phone is a hit of dopamine, and caffeine, and it's too easy. That's why the world is kind of designed for us to be failing right now. And I like that, talking about circadian rhythms is connecting back to nature, connecting back to the source of light from where we come from. Nature is designed to put us in a state of peace. It's designed to retrain the brainwave states. As Earth's heartbeat, Earth has a frequency that comes off of it at 7.83 hertz. And we get caught up in this high beta wave frequency, really high. It's a cortisol frequency, it's a speed racer frequency. And so, like, then everything that touches our system is kind of going through this distorted space. So, right, I'm in my fight or flight response, and everything that I eat is not being digested in the way that it would be if I was calm and at peace, right? Whole different story. If I interact with the light, whole different story, right? I'm over sympathetic tone. I'm, more likely to burn, right? It's all involved with melanation as well, with tryptophan, dopamine, phenylalanine. The melanation pathway, the ability to hold light in the body, is a lot of involvement with these brainwave states, because these are all related to our hormones. So it's beautiful. The delta wave sleep state, like I had mentioned earlier before, this delta wave sleep state is, we get deeper into it. Like they say, it's supposed to be like the first part of the night. So we have those 5 stages of sleep. And the first few phases is where we really, really get, like, your body really slows down, temperature drops, heart rate drops, and we go into this deep, deep sleep. And they say that it's dreamless. And I'll always, it always makes me think of melatonin, delta wave sleep state related to melatonin. Because as we age, we do not experience this delta wave sleep state as heavily, because we lose the balance of that autonomic nervous system. If you're not training, if you're not eating protein, if you're not taking care of your physical body, we lose that autonomic function, is diminished, because we just don't live forever, which is beautiful. But protect your delta wave sleep state, protect your melatonin, protect, protein protects your light. We are protein. Protein is the reason that we are not a bag of bones on the floor. So protein always protects your light. It's an essential nutrient for everybody, no matter your sex, your race, your orientation, your age, orientation. Like, no matter who you are, protein is a part of who we all are, which is beautiful. And if you do find yourself struggling, protein can help your immune system. It's like every time you eat protein, it's how you communicate with your spirit, with your light, with who you truly are. So the first part, just to wrap up, because we're about to skedaddle, just to go back, was look at the picture and do not let the frame distract you. Remember who you work for. Look at the picture. Do not let the frame distract you. There's so many distractions. Pleasure is such a distraction here, but don't let your need control your peace, And that's just a memo for myself as well. So anyway, I hope this video is helpful for you. In some way you can like, share, and subscribe. But as always, I do wish you the best of luck. There's one thing on my mind that I have to mention before we go. And that was that I had made that video mentioned about DMT. And they call DMT the God molecule. And it's very similar to melatonin, serotonin, and tryptophan. They all kind of like break down very similar to each other. So again, going back to how important protein is in the healing process, and the connection to the light is just so important. So anyway, I hope you get something from this, but I will catch you later. Good luck.